This is the sound of the Debbie Curtis Radio Big Band, and it's a sound that's very familiar to us on this BBC Radio Cumbria Sunday afternoon programme. The sound is familiar. The name of the band probably isn't, and that's because it's a new band. Well, to be precise, it's a resurrection of a band that was run by Debbie's father, Eddie Curtis, in the early 1970s. To find out why Debbie is now risking everything to re-establish the big band with a one-off concert at the London Palladium on the 1st of July, she joins us now from our London studios. And with just 1 week to go, I wonder how she's feeling at the moment. Debbie, good afternoon.
Hello there, Anne. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Now, just a week away from an attempt to recreate something that audiences took for granted on Sunday evenings at the Palladium way back in the 1950s. How are you feeling?
It's insane. No, I'm really looking forward to doing it because what I set out to do was to try and recreate what Ted Heath had done, as far as it would be great to do a regular set of shows at the London Palladium and try and get it to an audience again, a new audience, and hopefully, I mean, I've got people planned in the street outside to cause a riot like they did with Benny Goodman in the Paloma Ballroom. No, I'm just hoping that it's going to work and get it to a new audience as well.
Well, now, the music business, as I'm sure you know, is notoriously fickle, and I do hope you're right. But I wonder why you've got this conviction that the kind of big band music we enjoyed in the 1940s and 50s can make a comeback in the 21st century.
I think it's one of the reasons is I think there's more social interaction with it, which nowadays you can't really get from computers. You can get networking and speaking to people, but your actual social dancing, joining in, involvement, that all goes with a big band. I also think I've had a few leads in as far as, people like Jamie Cullum, Michael Bublé, Diana Krall, people at the moment. So I think the timing's good. We'll see.
Well, now, you say music, of course, of this style was very much for dancing, and I do know that up in this area, when we've had the new Sid Lawrence Orchestra and the Glenn Miller Orchestra, and here they are all sat nice, neatly in rows, not for long, because they get up and they dance. There aren't any dance halls anymore, there don't seem to be, but people are not going to be stopped dancing, are they?
No, I mean, it's like at the Palladium, you can't have dancing, obviously, for health and safety and things we do these days. Basically, it doesn't mean I can't have arm movements, waving your hands in the air, putting your hands in your pockets, doing anything. And donate generously, folks.
The days of the hand drive are still with us.
Yes, so we start there. I have got dancers on the show. I have got people doing jitterbug, Lindy Hop, things just to show people, what can be done. And if people want to join in, then we'll do it sort of from waist up to start with.
That's excellent. Now, the original Radio Big Band was formed by your father, Eddie, in 1972, as I mentioned. Yeah. That was the year you were born, I think. So it's fair to say you were born to the sound of swing.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
What are your early memories of being part of a musical family in that way?
Growing up, really, with people like sort of Don Lusher, George Chisholm, my father, obviously Kenny Baker, Johnny Dankworth, people like that I grew up with and now have ended up working with, really, which is really strange. But yeah, love the music. I absolutely love the music. Collect everything on it. I've got over 1,000 arrangements. I try and get original big band arrangements. I've got an original signed Heath one, which is a really nice arrangement, and a superb one of Autumn Leaves. And I'm just obsessed with that music. Although my mother was actually an opera singer.
Yeah, but she also sang. I hope I'm right here. She sang with the George Mitchell Singers and the Black and White Minstrels, Peter Knight. So lullabies were to swing music, presumably.
Yep. Yeah, lullabies and nocturnes.
Now, how old were you when you really caught the swing, and particularly the big band bug?
I suppose really in some ways in my teens I suddenly realised, my dad was doing all sorts of gigs for everything from sort of Savoy, all sorts of places, and I just realised how every time I took friends of mine along with me, how much they also enjoyed it. So I've stayed with it since, I mean, I've sort of become more of a sort of connoisseur of anything to do with, big band swing music now, and I just really like standing up there and having just even the opportunity to stand there and have an excellent band and be able to get that music to people.
Well, apart from the skills you obviously picked up at your parents' knees, have you had much formal music training?
Yes, I studied, I did at university, studied classical guitar and piano, and then specialised once again in big band. I did do fine art, but that was a bit like splitting hairs with a pickaxe. So
oh right, so it was very definitely you were back to the big band.
Came back
you've
to
been
it
on the
every
road.
time.
You've been on the road for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, quite a few years. I've always done sort of jazz and big band music, although I've done a couple of other sort of sessions for people and things like that in between. But yeah, every time I come back to the big band thing, really.
So how do you make your living? Is it by teaching and arranging for other people, or how does it work at the moment?
I'm outside Waterloo Bridge at this moment. No, I do sort of jazz things, sort of jazz sessions. I do have other gigs in with the band that we're doing. So, you know, I could make sort of what you call bread and butter money. But it would be nice to get it out there in the forefront so people get the chance to hear it more, you know.
Absolutely.
It's on so many adverts and things, people don't seem to realise, you know, most of the adverts you see on television, Neil Hefti, you know, even arranged the theme to Batman, things like that, but it's just that people aren't necessarily, it's not at the forefront where it should be.
No, that's right, and yet it's surprising the impact that advertisement has, because, you know, when they started using that Dean Martin, Helen O'Connell, how do you like your eggs in the morning, I was inundated with people saying, well, I'd like to hear more of this, can you find it? And I did, and I play it quite regularly now, so that's a good source.
It's there in the adverts, Fly Me to the Moon and Nina Simone and people, they are, you know, there's a lot of things on the adverts. It's being able to get people to realise that this is a 17-piece band, a great sound, and as in a great sound, you know, without sort of being amplified on its own right, you know. I do use a tuba player and a string bass player, by the way.
Very good. So the Radio Big Band now bears your name.
Yes.
What's the significance of radio in the title, Debbie?
Originally, I think when my dad very first started it out, I think there was a lot of orchestras, and I think he debated on orchestra, big band, and in the end he used to do a lot of arranging for the BBC, so he ended up, I think, putting Radio Big Band in it, but also I stuck with really his name and just put mine in front. For quite a few years I ran it as with his name, and then people began to wonder if I was called Eddie, so I thought I'd better
So it's not, as I said at the beginning, really a particularly new thing in the strict sense of the word. But still, how long has it taken you to feel that the band is now ready for this London Palladium concert?
Quite a long time. Really to, you know, think you've got the ability to carry something like that off. And, you know, basically everything, marketing it, the whole lot, really. But, yeah, predominantly being able to stand in front of, you know, a massive audience and say, right, you know, I'd like to do this regularly every Sunday, if you don't mind, folks.
Oh,
you know, and it's
that would be amazing.
So it's quite, and that's what I'd really like to do, is get big band music out there as it's new to younger people who haven't heard it, so it's sort of retro-y now.
Well, you might like to know that up here in Ulverston, which is just a little way from Barrow-in-Furness, where I'm talking to you this afternoon, we have a school, the Ulverston Victoria High School, who have a swing band, and it is brilliant.
Brilliant.
And those youngsters that play at all sorts of gigs all around the place, they play in the open air, they play at local concerts, they've played with the band of the Royal Marines, and they have said to me, this music is fantastic.
It is excellent.
So you're perhaps pushing at a slightly open door, let's hope so.
Yes, my dad started in the Marines, actually.
So there's a link there as well. Now, you sing with the band at the moment, don't you?
Yes.
But as we know, the arrival in the charts, you've mentioned them, singers like Jamie Cullum, Michael Bublé, and to some extent Robbie Williams, all producing swing and big band jazz, that's helped to rekindle an interest. Do you think you can keep that momentum up?
Yes, I hope so. I hope at the moment there aren't that many there are a lot of very good female musicians out there, but there's not necessarily that many, you know. I think I'm one of the very few female band leaders, so I'm hoping that that'll help push it in some ways. It has its advantages and disadvantages, really. You know. Are
you about the first since Ivy Benson?
I think I'm one of the few. There is a sort of odd ones, but I suppose I'm sort of one of the few who's determined to do it and keep sort of running around London, you know, advertising myself and saying, look, listen to this music, you know, it's really good music. I
wondered if you'd got any plans to encourage people like Michael Bublé or Robbie Williams or Jamie Cullum to sing with your band. Or indeed, do you think it's essential that you do, simply to get noticed by this new audience? Yeah,
I think there's a lot in the name, as far as, you know, well, their names there's a lot in.
That's right.
But, you know, I've approached a few people. I mean, so a couple of the guys in my band are people who also play in the band for Michael Bublé as well. It's quite a small world as far as, you know, big band players of that kind of standard. The next one I'll try and steal will be Michael Bublé to go with it.
Yes, yeah, that would be a coup, it really would.
Yeah.
Well then, London Palladium next week. Where to after that?
Got Her Majesty's Theatre I've put in for September the 23rd, that's penciled in. I'm hoping that the Palladium will give it enough of a push in the name Palladium, really. I'm hoping that will help get big bands out there, and then I'm going to try and obviously do as much television, radio, anything to spread the word, you know.
Yeah, well, your recordings, you very kindly sent me a couple of your albums. They're actually very striking. I wish one of the times I do wish this was television, because I could show it to you. They look like a miniature vinyl LP. They've got virtual grooves and all on them, very retro, and very, very striking. Are they available to the public yet?
Yes, they're available. I'm off the website, debbiecurtis.co.uk. I did design those. They took me quite some time to find a company who could put grooves in the actual things so they looked like vinyl, not just printed on, you know. I said, I actually want this to look authentic. That took quite a long time, and when they first came back, they'd sized it wrong, so they had to go back again.
Well, they're very impressive. They've created quite a stir in the office here, I'll tell you.
Thank you.
Well, Debbie, may I wish you and the Debbie Curtis Radio Big Band all the very best with your concert next Sunday. But away from the apparent sophistication of the London music scene, I know that you would find a ready audience who share your conviction that this is the greatest music ever. So
fantastic.
We hope to see you up here in the Northwest when you can make it.
And I've left you some guest passes for yourself and anybody from there who'd like to go, and a few tickets.
That is fantastic. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on the show this afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me.
And this is the Debbie Curtis Radio Big Band. As you heard, Debbie very kindly offered me some tickets to the London Palladium show next Sunday night. Of course, I'll be here, and finishing the programme at 6 and getting to London for 7:30 is cutting it a bit fine without a helicopter. But if you happen to be in London next Sunday and you could get to the Palladium, please let me know, because I've just had a chat with Debbie and I can arrange with her to have the tickets left for you at the box office if you can get there for the show. Just let me know. That's next Sunday evening, 7:30 at the London Palladium. And accompanying Debbie at the Palladium will be Glenn Miller's nephew John Miller. The show will be introduced by Patrick Lunt, and by the sound of it, a great time will be had by all. much appreciation there. Now, that was Hot Toddy, of course, from the Debbie Curtis Radio Big Band.